Okay, let's dive into this. If you are a tech-forward hospitality operator, chances are you know the feeling. You've probably spent the last year staring at your current CRM, your customer relationship management system, and just feeling a deep, deep sense of frustration. Right? I mean, you hear all the buzzwords, you sit through the vendor pitches, but when you actually look under the hood of your own operations, it still feels incredibly clunky. Well, today, we're fixing that. We are unpacking a definitive, truly pragmatic blueprint for custom, AI-native hotel CRM architecture.
I want you to really ask yourself, is your tech stack actually future-proofed? Or, are you just kind of mimicking innovation? Because right now, there is an absolute flood of vendors out there promising the moon with AI capabilities. But as we'll see throughout this explainer, simply bolting a chatbot onto a completely outdated database? Yeah, that doesn't make you AI native. Our mission today is to totally demystify what a true custom architecture actually looks like, how it operates in the real world, and frankly, why it might be the only viable way forward for complex hotel groups.
To navigate all this, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to define what AI native really means, examine the legacy problem, unpack the architecture blueprint, tackle the whole buy versus build debate, give you a reality check on timelines, and finally, take a look at the horizon.
Section 1. Defining AI native. Let's cut right through the jargon and draw a hard line between two very different concepts.
So a true AI-native CRM is a purpose-built guest management system. The absolutely crucial element here is that machine learning and LLMs are actually embedded into the core data layer. This means they aren't just, bolted on as an afterthought. Instead, every single guest interaction, every booking signal, every operational event, it's all scored, predicted, and acted upon in real time. And we're talking simultaneously across your property management system, your booking engine, and your communication channels. Now, comparing these two approaches is vital, because honestly, this difference determines what you'll even be able to do 3 years from now. AI-enabled, which is what most of the market is pitching you right now, basically just slaps AI features on top of an old relational data model. It relies on scheduled batch jobs, meaning it only looks at data after the fact, and the personalization sits in some separate rules engine. AI native, on the other hand, is built around event streaming from day one. Your predictions are happening in real time. The outputs from the AI, like, say, a guest's propensity score to buy an upgrade, are actually queryable data objects. It's a game changer because you can train and deploy totally new models without having to re-architect your whole data layer.
And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate reality check. If you come up with a brilliant idea for a new predictive use case, let's say predicting exactly which guests are going to cancel a dining reservation, and your team's very first step is to open a support ticket to literally beg your CRM vendor to add it to their roadmap, well, spoiler alert, you don't have an AI-native system. What you have is a CRM with AI-flavored marketing. True AI-native architecture means you own your predictive capabilities, period.
Moving on to Section 2, the legacy problem. Let's look at exactly why traditional CRMs are completely failing modern hospitality. There are 3 fatal shifts that have entirely outpaced legacy CRM design. First up, guest data is continuous now. It's not periodic. Think about it. Guests are interacting with your app, your website, WhatsApp, and the on-property point of sale all within one single stay. A legacy CRM running nightly batch imports, that only tells you what the guest did yesterday. Way too late. Second, personalization has completely shifted from broad, clunky segments down to the individual level. And third, multi-property portfolios are running mixed systems. You might have Oracle Opera at one property, right? But then Mews or Cloudbeds at another. A single vendor legacy CRM just breaks under that kind of complexity.
Now, what's really interesting here is this number, 74%. Back in the old legacy world, you personalize by looking at a segment, kind of like, okay, guests age 25 to 34 who booked a suite. But in an AI-native world, you throw segments out the window. You're looking at a real-time prediction that says, hey, this specific individual guest is exactly 74% likely to book a spa package if we offer it to them before 6 p.m. Traditional rules engines, literally no way they can calculate that kind of micro-moment prediction.
Okay, Section 3, the architecture blueprint. It's time to roll up our sleeves, get a little technical, and unpack the core of a custom system.
To build this, you're going to need a very specific set of core components. You start with a customer data platform, or CDP, which takes all that messy guest identity data across channels and resolves it into one clean golden record. Then you've got real-time event streaming, typically using something like Kafka, which shoots those guest events to every service instantly. You have an API gateway, which acts as the governed entry point, and this next part is absolutely crucial.
You maintain a separate data warehouse. Your historical storage, the stuff you use for training AI models on AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud, is kept totally separate from the low-latency operational store that your front desk is actually using in real time.
So let's actually trace how this flows in practice. Imagine a guest taps a link in a promotional email. Boom! That touchpoint generates an event. Instantly, the API gateway feeds that right into the streaming layer. Within literally milliseconds, the AI models catch that event, score it against the guest's entire history, and then spit out a highly personalized recommendation directly back to your guest-facing channels or your staff tools. And the beauty of it? It writes this data to both the operational store for instant personalization and the data warehouse for future analytics, all at the exact same time.
Because you've laid down this solid infrastructure, your capabilities are now composable. Look, yes, off-the-shelf software has features like dynamic offers or churn prediction, for sure. But a custom native build lets you compose entirely new AI capabilities right from your existing infrastructure without having to go buy a new module every single time. Plus, it actually integrates seamlessly with your complex realities. Whether you're dealing with PMS systems like Protel and Stayntouch, taking payments via Stripe, sending messages through Twilio and WhatsApp, or running analytics in Snowflake and Power BI.
Section 4. Buy versus build. This right here is the ultimate dilemma for any enterprise operator.
So the crucial point is really a debate over two completely different business strategies. Are you willing to just pay those ongoing per-property licensing costs forever for off-the-shelf software? Or do you want to invest upfront for long-term architectural freedom and total ownership of your own data? When we actually weigh the factors, look, if you buy SaaS, your time to deploy is definitely faster, sure. But your customization ceiling, it is totally limited to whatever happens to be on that vendor's roadmap. Now, if you build custom, it does take longer to deploy, I won't sugarcoat that. But your customization is literally unlimited. If you have a multi-PMS portfolio, SaaS requires all these messy workarounds, whereas a custom build is practically designed for it. And most importantly, over a 5-year timeline at an enterprise scale, the custom build is typically much lower in cost than bleeding out per-property SaaS fees month after month. Basically, SaaS is great for a single property, but custom is the clear fit for the enterprise.
Which brings us to Section 5, Reality Check. Let's slow down for a second and deliver some pragmatic, real-world advice about timelines, costs, and the common pitfalls.
Here is a realistic timeline, okay? Discovery and data architecture will take you about 6 to 10 weeks. The core platform build, that's 4 to 6 months. Rolling out the initial AI capabilities takes another 3 to 5 months. So for a mid-sized group of, say, 10 to 30 properties, reaching your very first real production use case is going to take anywhere from 9 to 14 months. Please hear me on this. Anyone who promises you a fully operational enterprise AI-native CRM in under 6 months, they are not building you custom architecture, they are just selling you SaaS configuration.
When you're evaluating cost drivers, understand that your PMS API maturity is going to be your absolute largest expense. Integrating deeply with old legacy systems is just expensive. It's a fact. Furthermore, security and compliance, those are not post-launch audits. They are day-one architecture requirements. You've got to have GDPR for your European guests and PCI DSS for payment tokenization built right into the foundation. And a quick fun fact for you. HIPAA compliance only matters for your hotel CRM if your property happens to operate a full-blown on-site medical facility. So you can probably skip that one.
I really cannot stress this recurring failure enough. Treating AI as just some feature you can casually add later. If you don't make it a core data architecture factor from day one, you are going to end up having to completely rebuild your system once real use cases actually get prioritized. Another huge mistake we see? Integrating your PMS at the reporting layer instead of the transactional layer. Oh, and launching way too many unvalidated AI use cases all at once. Don't do it. Start small, validate with real data, and build from there.
All right, Section 6, the horizon. Let's move to and see how this builds our understanding of where guest technology is rapidly heading. The trends coming down the pipeline are just fascinating. We are moving way beyond AI that just gives simple recommendations. We're heading toward Agentic AI, where the system actually executes multi-step tasks completely autonomously, staying within the guardrails you set, of course. Voice AI, that is rapidly becoming a primary touchpoint for guests. We're also seeing the huge rise of the Model Context Protocol, or MCP, which is standardizing exactly how AI agents connect to these super complex hotel systems. And of course, expect significantly stricter regulatory scrutiny on AI-driven personalization, particularly over in the EU.
This quote really summarizes the core takeaway of this entire explainer perfectly. The flashy AI models,
they are almost never your biggest hurdle. The real technical risk, and where you absolutely need to budget your time and resources, is solving the intense complexity of PMS integration and figuring out guest identity resolution across all these systems that were literally never built to talk to each other. Get the data foundation right, and I promise you, the AI will follow.
So I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. As agentic AI really starts to take over real, autonomous execution in hospitality, take a hard look at your own tech stack. Will your current data architecture even survive the next 2 years? If you're still relying on nightly batch imports and waiting on vendor roadmaps, well, it just might be time to start thinking very seriously about building your own AI-native custom architecture. Thanks so much for exploring this highly complex topic with me today, and as always, keep questioning your